Good morning, everybody. Happy post-derby. I'm still in the derby mood. I'm just not taking it off. I love wearing my fascinator. I wear it around the house. I actually do. Welcome to Let's Get Real. This really is me. I really do wear this around my house just for fun. It puts me in a good mood. So it's the Monday after the Kentucky Derby, and who else would I have for my guest this morning but one of my oldest friends in the world, Mara White. So Mara and I have been going to the Kentucky Derby for almost 20 years together with our husbands. I don't even think at the time they were both husbands yet. We've been doing this for a long time. My husband and I actually did not go this weekend. The stars just did not align, but Mara and her husband were in town from Iowa, so we actually just got to see each other for the first time since November of 2019. So we had a fantastic time. But we're not just here to talk about Derby. Today we are going to talk about public relations and social media. What are they? How are they different? How do they work together? And why does your business need both? So let me tell you a little bit more about Mara. Mara has more than 25 years of experience creating and managing public relations and event efforts. In 2004, she brought her experience in advertising and communications to Flynn Wright. During her professional career, Mara has also worked in the corporate, nonprofit, and education categories. But that aside, Mara has been a close friend of mine since sixth grade. Yes, sixth grade. So we have decades of talking about anything and everything, figuring how much pizza to order for a kid's birthday party, and being brutally honest with each other if an outfit doesn't look good, and a few other things. So without further ado, let me bring her on. Hi. So here's Mara, known around our house as Myrna or Aunt Mara to my kids. And I'm so glad you're here. And we're going to just have one of our, we usually talk on the phone, 25 times a day. So we'll just call this one.
This is one. Okay. Well, usually I text you during this.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had a couple times when actually her ringtone has gone off during the show and I text, I am live right now. So her ringtone, for the record, is Hey Soul Sister. So my kids always know when Aunt Mara's calling. So welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
You're my first PR pro that I've had on. I think you probably get this question a lot too. I get a lot of questions from clients and associates. Why can't you just reach out to the media? Why can't you just write me a press release? Why can't you? Well, because I could, but it's not really my skill. I deal in Twitter. I deal in 280 characters, whereas press release has quite a bit more information, but it's even more than that. It's the relationship that you build with the media and not just creating a persona for a brand, but you really are able to map out what that persona is going to do, what it's going to represent. So when I work with PR people, I find that they're kind of working 6 months ahead and planning, and I'm in the moment kind of following that lead. So talk to everybody out there. I know we get a lot of business owners who watch the show. Tell us in your words, what is PR?
Well, first, let me say I'm surprised that I'm the first PR person you've had on because you've been doing these for a long time and you know a bunch of amazing public relations professionals. And so I'm honored to represent. And you could probably have others on as well because we all approach our work a little differently. There is a formal definition of public relations, and there are people who are very, very methodical and process oriented on how they approach their PR efforts. It's and I'm not like that. Not because I don't want to be. I just don't think that that's what I have to offer. So part of what the definition of public relations is talking about a favorable image. And I really like that because who doesn't want to have a favorable image while still being true to yourself and being who you are? And it's funny because I talk about that, but that's the same conversation that we have with our kids, right? Is that you be who you are, but understand that what you do has consequences and affects other people. And how do you put that out in the world? Mm-hmm. My approach to public relations is very, very similar to that. It really leads into a discussion about reputation. And I think that when you're talking about reputation, sometimes people think that can be a bad thing. But I think when we work with our clients that we just want them in the best spot that they can possibly be. So two types of things that I do. One is in the moment, right? Right now we have this issue or this issue is happening or we have this opportunity, but we have to work quick. Or it's something that's a little bit more long-term where we're building out a strategy and we're talking about it. The PR work that I do, sometimes it is just working with our local media or regional media or even beyond that and trying to use the media as an audience, not necessarily a channel. But we want to position them in that might be the easiest way is to write a press release, let them know what's going on and go from there. There are also so many other ways that you can manage someone's reputation. And a lot of the work that I do sometimes doesn't even involve writing a press release or doing a press conference or anything like that. So I would say that most of my work isn't necessarily in the campaign element of public relations, although I touch that for sure. But where my love is and where my passion is helping people think through doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons.
And I know that firsthand because I come to you often with either a business situation where I need your advice. How do I message this so that the point gets across, but I take my emotion out of it. And of course, even personally, sometimes it's just nice to have a wordsmither or someone who can look at it objectively rather than being the owner of the company who's taking something very personally. You're able to step back and say, let's look at the messaging of this and how do we want to present ourselves best. So I know that
Yeah,
firsthand.
I think everyone needs a friend and a confidant in your life. My husband always says you should trust your lawyer, your doctor, your PR person, and your trainer. By trainer, he means his horse trainer. But the idea is, I think everyone needs somebody in their life that they can trust, and that's whether it's personally or professionally. And you should surround yourself with those people and trust them to do what's right for you and your company and your brand. You should never question whether or not they have your best interests in mind. Those are the people that you should find.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So both of us went to college a couple of years ago and we both majored in public relations, you at the University of Iowa, me at the University of Florida. And I took a different road in my career and I've come back to writing, but in a different form. You stayed in PR. What have you seen change in the past years?
Just a couple, when I look back on the past couple of years, because we're just 29 forever.
Right.
I think some of the basics are still the same, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We say that a lot to each other, right? You have to start with the end in mind. You have to be flexible. I think the thing that's changed a lot is when I first started out, there was a push to really specialize in one area, crisis communications or corporate relations or internal communications. And maybe it's just because I've been in agency environment for so long, and that's really what I love the most, is that I think you have to be, before you specialize in anything, before you're a go-to for something, you have to be able to be nimble. You have to be flexible. You have to be, in a lot of ways, a jack of all trades. The work that we do, and we focus a lot on PR and events for our clients and our agency. And so when we're approaching something, you have to be able to do it all. You have to be able to write the proposal or proof the copy or plan the event or know the details. You have to be able to do all of those things. And I think that that's what clients like to work with, someone who can handle and think about. I joke a lot, like, the first thing I do is think about what could go wrong, and then we fix that and we plan for that. Right. And those types of people in your life or in your PR world who are helping you really think through the best way to move forward and all of those little details, I think that's what I've seen change the most over the years. We used to be able to just pitch a story and write a press release, and then the reporter either liked it or didn't like it. And I feel like now we have to be we have to be the experts. We have to do the work a lot more before we even are pitching that story or presenting that to the client so that we become the experts in what they are doing to move forward.
Right. Well, that's a great point. And I know you've had some situations with clients in the past where, I talked about how you kind of helped me with my clients, but we were able to work together on one of you have a local retailer when there were some angry people and they were posting on Facebook, and we kind of talked about what do you do here, and so I can remember vividly that conversation of kind of comparing. It's back to the just because you can doesn't mean you should thing that we were talking about. Well, if you were mad at this store and you were there, would you grab a bunch of people and stand in front of the store and start yelling about it? Probably not. So we have to manage those customer responses and things like that online just as we would in person. It's usually less likely to happen in person, but it goes back to that messaging, that persona, and making it from a big scale, the PR world, and from smaller scale, in some cases, the social media world. And I think that client, I think you directed them really well that day. And I think that they've benefited from it over time. And it's kind of played into their whole branding strategy, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I think about that. That had to have been
It was years
10
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
That was a long, long time ago when the social media platform was still relatively new in managing how people responded.
Hmm.
If you think about an actual, you're having a disagreement or an argument with someone else, and maybe it's someone you don't know, you can turn around and walk away. You can argue with them. You can have a discussion with them. And it's really no different in social media, right? We talk about that a
Right.
lot. I
Hmm.
think what I do starts that relationship with that brand before.
Yeah.
So before that conversation happens with whoever, that you have a reputation, a perspective of that brand, and whether they're usually good to their customers, whether they operate honestly and truthfully, whether they've been good to you as a customer.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of like that quote about be the type of person that when someone says something bad about you, that nobody believes them.
Right.
And those types of brands that we raise, and we say a lot at Flynn Wright that brands are not born, they are raised. And it is
Uh-huh.
cultivated over many, many interactions that you have with a customer. I think
Right.
where social and PR kind of have a relay on that is when you're in that moment
Hmm.
and how you handle it. And one thing you've taught me, and we talk about a lot, is that you can't stop people from having a conversation about you.
Right.
You can help structure that conversation, and I can help build your impression of that company before you get to that good or sometimes that bad experience. But you can't
Right.
stop that conversation from happening.
Right.
And if you try and stop it, if you try and shut it down, you're not going to solve the problem because that person is still going to be upset, and that can trickle down and hurt you in the long run.
Right, and they'll just go find another platform. If you shut them down on Facebook, they'll go to Twitter. You shut them down on Twitter, they'll go to Instagram, or they'll, you know, call the news. So, I
Absolutely.
think that it's important that you manage expectations and manage responses, and that's important no matter what the company is, no matter what the situation is. I've certainly had in the moment situations where I call you and you've helped me wordsmith. How do we manage this right now? How do we have this response? And then, of course, there's other things that we certainly laugh about online that we'll see people do, and we're like, oh, really? um, oh, could they use
People
both of
started
us right
screenshotting
now?
them because we could really write a book.
We, we really could. Not to mention the grammatical errors that we've caught over the years. So that's been really fun too.
So
Um,
I once
but
had I had a grammatical error once where I said it's with an apostrophe, it apostrophe s, and my dad was the first to correct me. That's
For
where
those
I get
who
that.
don't know Mara, her dad is a journalist and was our local news anchor for many, many years. So, yeah, that I don't want to be caught by Barry having a typo. So,
Yeah, my mom is a great writer. My dad is a great writer and
yep.
speaker, and so I come from a list of people who are a group of people who are always looking at what I say and what I write.
Absolutely. And those of us who depend on that quality, myself included, and my husband. Many of you may know that my husband did a pivot in his career years ago and got an MBA. He wrote a 30-page paper and wanted me to review it. And I said, no way, send it to Mara. So she proofed it. So congratulations, Mara. You can now put an MBA
I
on
got
your
an A.
resume.
I got an A on that paper.
Yes, yes, you did. So I think all of this, it kind of leads back to the branding, the messaging. It just goes back to professionalism and remembering to take that emotion out of it. And I think a lot of what both of us do in our work is being objective and helping our clients see through the mess and the noise and to come out clean on the other side, for lack of a better term. Make sure that the representation that we want of our businesses is truly there and that we can back it up with service, with product, with everything that the customer would expect. So it's fun to see how, from my point of view, in short form writing, and from your point of view, whether you're advising a client, from the office or you're actually on the news talking for them, whatever it may be, we're both out there for the betterment of our clients and their reputations. So that's a lot of fun that we've kind of ended up in this similar situation.
Absolutely.
So, for those who aren't familiar with Flynn Wright, you work for an agency. Tell us a little bit about Flynn Wright, and there could be somebody out there that needs your services.
Well, I always like to talk about Flynn Wright and the people who work at Flynn Wright because we have, while been around since 1984, when you and I were just toddlers, basically. The evolution of the company has really increased so much over those years, and the work that we do is we deal with a lot of local brands, regional brands, even beyond, a full service agency, strategy before tactics type of philosophy, a lot of research. But when we say full service, we mean full service, like we do it all. I think our agency, we're recognized for doing great things, but it's the wheels that turn at our business every single day by these amazing professionals who work together. People, when I'm interviewing people, they always ask me, like, what do you love about Flynn Wright? And I have the same answer that I've decided which is my favorite thing about Flynn Wright, is that at any given time, there's a project or a campaign or work going on inside Flynn Wright. And the group of people who are all coming together for the good of that client and putting out the best possible work for that client, those people are all coming from different perspectives, different professionalism, different expertise, and they're all coming together to all play their part in putting this together and putting this out. And I think the thing that I love the most is that if one of those people were different in that group, or when you have a completely separate group of people, the outcomes, while still incredibly successful, are different. And so we're all able to bring our own personalities and our own perspectives to the table for whatever it is we're all trying to accomplish. And so there is kind of this one goal attitude that we have of this highest level of work that we can do. The innovation that happens every day at our office is so impressive, and I'm in awe all the time of the work that we do.
As am I, because I'm on your mailing list, so I get your magazine. And I think your website is fantastic. So for people who are looking to connect with Mara and her team directly, you can reach them at flynnwright.com. Located in Iowa, but available everywhere. So if your business is looking for some help with the PR world, I certainly do recommend Flynn Wright. I know several of them, so I'm very proud to know them. Yeah.
You've even been there.
I have been there. I've been to the office, and I'm coming back in June.
You sure are.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I get to meet Derby, her doggie, who I've never met in person, and my daughter has, and I find that very unfair. So I'm very excited. She has a dog named Derby. Okay, so I'm currently getting texts from my daughter from school. Isn't she in class? She's sending me outfits to look at. So I guess I got to get on with my day. And I I probably will be forwarding these to you later to be like, I don't know, what do you think? Um,
Yeah, that's how it works.
so, all right, Myrna. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for being my first PR pro on here. I
Yeah,
always say about both of us that yes, we're professionals, but we're not experts. We are practitioners. We do this every day, and every situation is different for both of us with both of our sets of clients. And it's fun that we get to bounce ideas off of each other. So aside
it
from
is.
all the personal stuff, I'm glad I have you for that.
I'm glad I have you. I think one thing that we have in common that I love the most is that we both believe professionally and personally, whether we're talking to our kids or we're talking to our clients, that there's not two of you. There's not, the person who's online and then the person who is in person. And
Right.
that's a really good lesson for us. And professionally, we talk a lot about one voice. So it's everything that happens at Flynn Wright with our clients is all a consistent message, but it's also, who you are and what you're putting out into the world.
Yeah, well, and that's, what the show is all about is how to keep things real. And I'd say that
Yeah,
for us and for our clients, that's true every day. We just have to be real. We're not going to, try to be something we're not. I am
absolutely.
not
And it's,
going to be the accountant.
yes, it's not kind of real. It's not sort of real. It's keeping it real, and that's
Right,
true. I
exactly.
love it.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, well, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure I will talk to you 15 more times in the next hour.
Yes.
But have a great day. I love you, and
I love
I'll
you.
see you soon.
Thanks for having me on. I'm going to wear it all day.
Me
Derby
too.
up.
I just might. Okay. So thanks everybody for joining me again this week. I look forward to seeing you again next week. We're going to stay with our 10:30 time slot. My guest next week is Martin Lieberman. He is a career content marketer, and I will have my pen and paper out to take notes. There is going to be a lot to learn from Martin, so I hope you'll join us. And until then,